Hello. Today let us discuss types of methods. In the previous session we discussed about types of variables. Now let us discuss on types of methods. There are three types of methods, mainly instance method, class method, static method. So in instance method we have two more methods called getter method and setter method. Now let us go one by one because we can work on instance method now. Instance method. Instance methods are the methods which adds upon the instance variables of the classes. Self variable by default as the first parameter for the instance method. So these methods adds upon the instance variable and they use the self as a first parameter. So def method name self method body, def method name self, f1 f2 as the parameters, method body. These are the syntaxes with instance method without arguments, instance method with arguments. Now let us look into actual instance methods. So instance method have two types. So one is instance method without arguments and instance method with arguments. So now if you look into the example instance method without arguments, you could able to see the changes between the with arguments. So in the without arguments, the instance method doesn't have any formal parameter, but in case of instance method with argument, we have a parameter age. Now let us try to execute this instance method without arguments first and with arguments next. So let us go on to Pointer and try to execute this method dot py. Instance method. So instance method without arguments. Now let us define a class. Class student underscore underscore init self common name self dot name is equal to name. Now I will define instance method as show. Self is the first parameter. Then I will try to print name of the student is self.name. So I will create an object for this. Object 1 is equal to student and I will pass a name Bhima. Then I will call object 1 dot show instance method. Now I will run this function instance method without arguments. When I run this program, I will get an output as name of the student is Bhima. So this is my instance method and this is the instance variable. We are accessing the instance variable in the instance method, but instance method doesn't have any argument. I'm passing this object 1 actual argument to this constructor to instantiate the instance variable. Now let us execute instance method with argument. Instance method with arguments. Again, I will try to create class student def score init self name, then self dot name is equal to name. Now I will define a show or disp variable, variable method name, self as a first parameter, and I will define age as a formal parameter. Then self dot age is equal to age. Now I will print with f string name of the student is dot name and his slash her age is self dot age. Here we have a formal parameter age and we need to declare it from the object call. Now I will try to create object to here. I will call the student, then I will declare a name Krishna. Then in the object to I will call disp instance method. Here I will call the 25 as the age of Krishna. If I run this function, you could able to see instance method without arguments returns the output as name of the student is Bhima. But when I run the instance method with argument, the output is name of the student is Krishna and his or her age is 25. So I think you understood the concept here. The difference between these two programs is in the instance method, we are make use of instance variable. We use instance variable inside instance method. In the first case, we don't have any formal parameter, but in second one we have the formal parameter age and we are passing it with a instance method function. So these are the two common differences between these two functions. That's the instance method test cases without arguments, with arguments. So now in the instance method we have two methods. One is getter method and one is setter method. Now let us look into getter method. So getter method is used to access or read data of the variables. This method do not modify the data in the variable. So class, if you look into the example, so class A in itself name Ravi, age, def disp self age, print student name is self name. We are accessing instance variable inside the instance method, and in the get function or getter method, we are accessing the instance variable, and we are finally calling it with the help of object. Now let us execute it first. Getter.py. Clear this. So let me create a class student self name self dot name is equal to name. So I'll create one more disp function self age self dot age is equal to age. Now I will define a getter method get underscore get name. So use self as a first parameter. Now I will print with the help of a string name of the student is self dot name. I'm accessing instance variable in the getter method, and I will do one more print method. So with the help of a string, age of the candidate is self dot age. Would able to access the disk function uh, variable inside the getter function. Now I will try to call the class object1 is equal to student. Here I will pass Karna as the name. Then I will pass object1 disk age as 35. Then I will call the getter method object1 dot get name. So when I run this, I got an output as name of the student is Karna, age of the candidate is 35. So how this works, let us see. So getter method is used to get the data for read. So here I defined a class student and I defined an constructor with an argument with a formal argument name, and self will be the default parameter, and self dot name is equal to name will be the instance variable which is created in the constructor. Now I will define instance method disp with the formal argument age, and I also define the instance variable self dot age is equal to age. So and now in order to get the data of the instance method, I will be using getter method. So get underscore name is the getter method name, and self as the first parameter, and I print the data as the name of the student is self name and the age of the candidate is self age. So I'm accessing the both the instance variables in the getter method, and once after the defining the class, I will try to create an object one with object one and student for a class student, and I will call in and I will pass an actual argument for an constructor as Karna. Then I will call the disk function with the help of object1 does object1 does disk 35. So this will be the age of the disk function. So finally, after calling the getter method with the help of object1 dot get name, the following data will be accessed. All the following instance variables will be accessed in the getter method and it will be printed. So hence finally the output is name of the student is Karna and age of the candidate is 35. So that's all with the getter method. Now setter method. Setter method is used to access or read and modify the data of the variable. This method modify the data in the variable. Uh, for example, we have in class A def in itself self dot name is equal to Ravi. In constructor we have an instance variable. In this function we have defined the age as well, and in the setter name we are modifying his name where Ravi is modified to Rakshi and we are printing his name. Okay. Now I'm finally calling the setter method. So let us try to execute the setter method. Setter dot py. Here I will define a class student def underscore init self dot name is equal to name. I will do one more formal parameter as name. Now I will define a function show, which is self as a parameter, and I will define its age as well. Here I will print name of the person or student is self dot name, and his age is self dot age. But we have not at all defined within self parameter. So first we need to define self dot age is equal to age. Once after defining its age, right? I need to modify this. Now it's right. Now def I will set the method set name. So I will be with the help of setter method. I will be modifying its name. Self dot name is equal to Ramarjuna. Print name of the person after using setter method is self dot name. So here I just modify its name. Now I will try to call it. So object 1 is equal to student, and I will call name as Krishna. Then I will call the show function with age as 25. Now I will call the set method, set name, set function. So if I run this, now you could able to see when I pass an input as Krishna, I'm getting an output as name of the person of the student of the person or student is Krishna and his age is 25. But with the help of setter method, I modified its name is to Ramarjuna, and now I'm printing the name of the person is person after using setter method is self.name. Hence, it will give the name as Ramarjuna. So I will explain how it is working. So initially I defined a class which is student. Def in itself dot name will be the constructor, and it has two parameters. Self will be the default parameter and name will be the explicit parameter. So self dot name is equal to name will be the parameter which will be associated with self variable. So def show self dot self comma age. I'm defining an instance method. Here also I'm creating an variable which is associated with the self dot age is equal to age. When I print it, the name of the person or student is self dot name and his age is self dot age. I'm accessing the instance variable in instance method. And now as I'm explaining with setter method, I can modify its method. I can read and modify the instance variable. So I'm modifying self dot name is equal to Ramarjuna. So whatever the data I have passed will be modified to Ramarjuna, and I will try to print it using the setter method. So once after calling an object 1 for a student, I pass an name, pass and for actual argument as Krishna, and it will be moved to first constructor, and the following name will be assigned to instance variable self.name. So, and when I call a show function with the help of object1, I pass an value as 25 and the following value will be assigned for self.age. So when I call this function, the following print statement will be executed where you could able to access the self.name, which is Krishna, and self.age is 25, which I have passed through the actual argument whenever I was calling a show function. But again, I'm calling a setter method. Here, I'm modifying the instance variable to Ramarjuna. So it will overwrite the name which I was passed to constructor. So now Krishna has been overwritten with Ramarjuna, and I've given the print statement to create a statement like name of the person after using setter method is self.name. So in the self.name, instead of Krishna, it will be overwritten with Ramarjuna. Hence, setter method is used to modify and rewrite the data. Sorry, access and modify the data. So hence, the output is name of the person or student is Krishna and his age is 25 before setter method. After calling setter method, the name of the person after using setter method is modified to Ramarjuna. So this how the setter method works. So that's all with instance method. Now let us move to class method. So class methods are the methods which acts upon the class variables of the class. So decorator or class method need to be right above the class method. By default, the first parameter of class method is CLS, which refers to the class itself. So here you could able to access the class variable inside the class method, and you could able to call it using class dot class variable. So let me execute this function. Class method dot pivot. I will define a class student and I'll define a variable sec is equal to section p. So this is my class variable. Now I will define init function. Then I will define the parameter here only. So don't want to overwrite it again. So self dot name is equal to name. If show self print name of the student is self dot name. I'm accessing instance variable in instance method. So that's it. So now I want to print the I want to access the class variable. So for that I need to make use of decorator class method. So with this I could able to access the class variable. For this def is sec cls will be the first parameter, and if I print cls dot sec. So when you call this function, the following cls dot sec will be printed. So this is the class method. Now let me create object one is equal to student, and I will call Rama as an input parameter for the constructor. Now, and I will create object one dot show function. When I run this, following data will be printed, following instance method will be printed. Now, in order to access class method, I can make use of class name, which is student.cls or student.sec, and I need to print it before executing. When I run this, you could able to see the name of the student is Rama, where Rama has been assigned to constructor, and it will be accessed using an instance method. So when I call this show function, the following data has been printed. Name of the student is Rama, and here I'm calling the class variable by using um, a class variable method. I'm calling the class variable outside the class with the help of class name dot class variable. And even you could able to perform with the help of object also, object one dot esec. When you call this, you could able to get the element with the help of object also, and with the help of class name dot class variable. So this method is so this method is used to call a class function using object or inside the class. But whereas this method is used to call the class variable outside the class. So this is the exact working of class method with the help of class variable. So you could able to call the class function with the help of with the help of object inside the class. This is the object one is object with the help of decorator, or else you could able to call the class variable outside the class with the help of class name dot class variable. So this is the actual method of calling class variable using class method. Now let us move to static method. So static methods are the methods which are used when some processing is related to the class. When you need to perform some processing related to the class, but does not need the class or its instance to perform any work. For example, you can make use of decorator static method to write about the static method. So what exactly it means is, so if you want us if you want to do some processing work related to class, but you do not want any classes or instance to perform any work, then you could make use of this static method. So when you use static method, you need to use a decorator static method above the function or above the method. Static method, def method name, method body. So this is without parameters, with parameters. Now we have an example here, instance method without arguments. So we have defined a class called car static method def disp model. So print BMW. So when brand is equal to car dot disp model, you will get an output as BMW. Instance method with arguments. Starting method we are calling M and P print model comma price. Okay. So now let us execute the static method in the code. So let us define a class called I will show function. Here I don't want to define any of the output. So print. So print name of the car is BMW. So since I have not at all defined which type of method is this, so as I'm currently working on static method, I need to define its type of method. So I will be declaring the static method for this function. If I try to create an object for this and call this function, I've created object one, I call this function, call this class. So I need to call this method. So I need to make use of class name star dot show. When I run this, I got an output as name of the car is BMW. Here, I will try to write static method without arguments. So I'm just calling the class method with the help of class variable dot the method name. So I will try to run static another method, static method with arguments. Again, I will define a class called car, and I will define the static method because I don't want to use any of the class variable or instance variable. Then I will call the function def disp. So here I will create two parameters. So it don't have any of the default parameters. I'm calling m comma p, where model is equal to m and price is equal to p. Then I will print model of the car is model and its price is price. So I will try to create an object for this. Object 2 is equal to r. Then I will call the method with the help of class car dot disp with model as BMW with the price of 50 lakh. So if I run this, you could able to see for my for my first case static method without arguments, I got an output as the name of the car is BMW. But for the second method, static method with arguments, I'm giving the input as BMW and 50 lakh when I call this function with the help of class name. So I'm passing an argument as BMW and 50 lakh for model M and price P. Then the following data will be printed as model of the car is BMW and its price is 50 lakh. So this how exactly the static method works. Here the static method is not at all using any of the class variable or instance variable or class method or instance method. It's an independent of classes and objects. Hence this method is known as static method. So That's all with the methods. We have discussed three set of methods: instance method, class method, static method. And we have discussed with arguments, without arguments for all the test cases. And in instance method, we have discussed two more cases, which is setter and getter. So that's all for the day. Thank you.